Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're back with the Beastmen vs. Tzeentch showdown. It's going to be the Great Bray Shaman facing off against the old Exalted Lord of Change. So two of the generic caster lords going at it, having a good old time. Now, as far as the build goes, Tzeentch, in my experience, usually either comes in with pinks and blues, to just kind of move up and shoot you and pressure you with that sort of DACA and, a little bit of a wider army, or you see halberd boxes, right? So I was kind of thinking on the Beastmen roster, I'm like, I feel like the Beastmen Cygors are going to be good against all of those things. So if they're there with pinks, you can heavily outrange them, you can bombard them. And once Cygors do run out of ammo, they do become Walmart giants. You can move them up and, press the objectives in the late game. So I think they're going to be good against the halberd spam we see over here. Now we got Ungor Raiders, also two Wargors on the chariots. These things are incredibly good in my experience. They do, of course, have the Primal Fury, so they can get some nice buffs and ITP while their leadership is a little bit better. They got some missile resist and Vanguard deployment as well if you want to kind of have them in your reserves. But in my experience, for all you Beastmen players out there, I know Beastmen are suffering a little bit in competitive right now. I think their win rate's in the 30s, but I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential with Beastmen and strategies that people will figure out. Because man, having Vanguard deployment on like everything, being able to respond to threats all over the map is just so damn powerful. So Great Bray Shaman, backed up by Ungor Raiders, double Wargor, and these are here to deal with the infantry and Forsaken and things like that, and a couple Ungor herds. Now for the opponent here, it is going to be the Tzeentchian hordes. We have halberds into the sunset, double cultists to summon the pinks, which is very cost effective. Summoning the pinks to shoot at pretty much the entire lightly armored Beastmen roster is very, very good. And of course, an Exalted Lord of Change is just unholy. They're so annoying. Having the blue fire to snipe all your characters is very, very tough. And on top of that, it's a big, strong fighter with infinite regenerating shields, which isn't as problematic in Ye Olde Domination. Of course, you guys have seen it in land battles and the recent faction wars, how oppressive that can be. But here, it's not too bad. We should be able to handle it. Now, Cygor Boulders coming in. Going to be going into these Chaos Warriors. Gotta say, the Tzeentch Chaos Warriors are so incredibly cool looking, but you know what's cooler is a giant one-eyed Cygor throwing boulders at them. So the boulders are landing, and so far we're getting some very, very good value, so I was super happy with this early trading here. As the Cygors do take position up on the high ground. In the meantime, Ungor is going to be maneuvering around the side, looking to grab objective number 1, which is cool because Beastmen can stealth cap with a lot of stuff. So you just kind of sit there with the invisible units, and your opponent's not really going to know what's there. Depending on the circumstances, it could be a Raider, could be an Ungor, all sorts of spooky, sneaky Beastmen tricks. Flock of Doom going down. Do get an overcasted Flock of Doom, which is going to be hitting this whole position here. So Chaos Warriors do get tagged with that. It hits all three. It helps to break through the shield, so then when the boulder hits, it's going to be doing more damage. We do also chase back the Exalted Lord of Change, so that bad boy is going to be running to the hills from Ye Olde Wargors. So Wargors are also pretty good anti-infantry tools. Should be able to put some hurt on the cultists here, so they're going to be trying to escort him over. And that's actually kind of funny. You could like chase the Wargor or push the cultists like into your Beastmen army. That would be pretty hilarious for sure. But here we do have the old Exalted Lord of Change and the Pink Horror Summon coming down, so it's going to be cast a little bit more deep set, and that should be able to kind of mitigate the effectiveness of my Ungors. Now, classic bug, as always. So basically, chariot characters like Kazrak or anyone on a chariot, really, they have 2 hitboxes, so sometimes if your opponent casts a spell, it'll do twice the damage, which is just what happened here. So very unfortunate. The Great Bray Shaman basically got hit twice for free, so I kind of got owned there a little bit. Now, on the backside of the map, Ungor is going to be capturing that objective, and a basic Ungor unit could probably fight off a blue like pretty effectively and maybe even beat them, so I'm totally content to just have them there. My opponent's going to have to commit more resources to deal with them, and then when they do commit resources to deal with these stealth units, that's when you, as a Beastmen player, will strike with your Vanguard options, like get out there with Centaurs and all that sort of good stuff, and really, really give them the business. Cygors are pulling back. Tzeentch Halberds just kind of screening me out. I did see the pink summon, so I believe there's 2. Maybe he thought I was going to be committing to the fight, so I do just pull back at this point and send up some shielded warriors to start pushing while we do get a Manticore summon from our Lord, who is on death's bed, basically. So I was like, okay, my Lord's probably going to die, so let's get the Manticore summon and just hope for the best here. So here comes another shot. Let's see if it hits twice. That time, it looks like it worked normally. It wasn't like the double hit. Sometimes, like, chariot characters can get popped in the face pretty hard that way. And I know my character is going to die, so just using Flock of Doom, and then I'll be unsummoning my character as the Tzeentch army ability was coming down, and I didn't want to take the penalty for having my Lord had died. Now, there was a chance he could have lived, and maybe I would have more magic, but, it's a pretty big setback early on, because he got damaged as well, so I didn't get a refund for that. It's just like, I might have gotten a little bit. Wargor moving in, being hunted by the giant chicken, but the Wargor was able to single-handedly penetrate the shields. And now we got a lot of Raiders coming in. Ungor's going to be fighting the Forsaken with the support of the Wargor chariots, and Ungors versus Halberds. Halberds do not have good DPS, so the basic shielded chaff units should be able to hold pretty well there. But what's great about this is the entire time in the middle, the 2 Cygors are just pounding the Tzeentch army. Just absolute beatdown, right? So eventually there might be an opportunity if the middle is softened up enough that I could just roll down there with some Vanguard infantry, some fast Centaurs, and really, really just get my money's worth, right? So look how quickly the Forsaken just get bullied by these guys, man. The Tuskor, these Razorgore chariot characters, the Wargores are just so incredibly good. And if you guys have been playing Beastmen, maybe struggling in some of the tournaments we've been having, I'm telling you, give these guys a try. You will not regret it. They are very, very good, and I honestly think bringing 2 of these on chariots should be a staple in most builds. They're just very disruptive. They fight SCMs well, and they're just solid. Now, Ungor Raider's going to be shooting up in the sky here, getting on the Exalted Lord of Change. Rear charge coming in from the Sons of Goros. A very good unit because they do magic damage, and they have great weapons, so they can kill Forsaken. The magic damage is obviously very good against demons, and you can see these bad boys getting in here and taking these Manta Rays to town, as the brave Ungors holds it very, very well in the front. Well, the Halberds did kind of collapse my flank a little bit. The 2 Wargores have gotten into them, and the Infernal Gateway coming down from my opponent right here, going to be dropped on the Blackhorn's Ravagers. So that will be doing some big damage for sure. But we have the side objective. The Wargores, or the Gores, are going to be moving up to the middle. On the backside, we do see a Vanguard of, not Vanguard, but Aggression coming in from Forsaken. So at this point, I'll pull back with the Ungors. I'll move back here and then summon in something to counter them, right? Like something fast that I can surround them with. Forsaken have extremely low melee defense at 20. One-on-one, they do great, but if they're surrounded, taking rear charges, things like that, that is pretty much their worst nightmare. Now, the side objective is going pretty well. You know, Centaurs have gotten in there, although there are some Halberds left, which are causing me problems. But I have that good concave shooting. I have multiple Ungor Raiders shooting into these unshielded units and generating some pretty massive value. We also did beat up the Great Lord of Chicken, so the Exalted Lord of Change is going to be fleeing the scene now, unsummoning coming down from the Forsaken there, putting him back in ye old pool. So, still fighting here. Gore Herds versus the Weird Spawn. Weird Spawn will probably win that in just like a vacuum. I can, of course, summon in some help, and the 2 Cygors have pulled back right now. I was getting a little bit too close for comfort there, so I'm like, let's pull them back. Let's make sure they're doing really well, and then if my opponent wants to overextend, I can summon some things to defend them here. So, Boulder's going down. Really nailing those Chaos Warriors. Those guys getting beat up pretty badly. On the other side, the Ungors just kind of cackling. You can see the Forsaken are trying to find their home. But one of the things that Tzeentch doesn't do well, Tzeentch is a very strong faction, great infantry, one of the best faction mechanics, excellent army abilities, but one thing Tzeentch, their big weakness is their mobility. I mean, they don't have like a Hound unit, they don't have like a Flesh Hound, they don't have like Plague Toads, you know, Warhounds. You know, Nurgle has Poison Hounds as well as Plague Toads, and a fair amount of mobility in that regard. Tzeentch is a little bit more static. I mean, they have some speed via Furies and Screamers and things like that, but their big weakness is mobility. Usually, if they kind of spread out thin like this, they can be picked apart. Granted, I am potentially getting triple caps here. Granted, the value over here is just going massively into my favor, so we should be able to get this objective back. I still have my 2 Wargores. We got the Sons of Goros here, and we should be able to just hammer this objective down and get that one back. Now, the issue is going to be the middle, but the middle, looking like I'll have an opportunity. I get spawn on my own. Now I have the Walmart spawn. My spawn don't have shields, but they do have poison, which is nice, but 30 less weapon strength. Overall, Tzeentch spawn are pretty much exponentially better than that of the Beastmen, but the Beastmen ones only cost 900. I think Tzeentch ones cost like 1,000 or 1,100, something like that, so you get what you pay for. So Chaos Spawn moving in, Blackhorn Ravagers, Boulder throws, knocking down the shields of those Weird Spawn. On the side point here, the big chicken does come over, and unfortunately he means business, and he was able to cook up some KFC as he pushes off my Ungors and Centaurs, so those guys are going to be pushed back to the Shadow Realm. So very, very good play, using his big, powerful, terror-causing Lord to outmaneuver me, essentially, and really just disrupt my formations, because, you know, my Lord slot was basically dead. I haven't had my Brace Shaman the entire game, and I really got owned that way in the beginning, but, you know, you gotta adapt, you gotta overcome, and keep kind of scheming ideas here. So now doing a middle overload. Basically, wherever the Lord of Change goes, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go somewhere else. Wherever he's not, I'm going to be just trying to go. Now, at this point, we were ahead on the damage value by a considerable amount, I believe by about 1,500, so we had that going for us. Yeah, although I unsummoned my Lord too, so again, that needs to be taken into account. Side objective is going to be taken by the Sons of Goros. Raiders going to be moving down to the middle. And suddenly we look like we're going to be the ones capping. We are the ones who knock. And the 2 Cygors are going to be marching down to the center. I really wanted to get the momentum here and get this objective, so we are moving down the heavy hitters, even though they had a little bit of ammo left. In retrospect, probably should have just used that ammo before I moved down there, but I was having trouble hitting targets, so I figured just having them in combat would be more impactful. On the side, we have Screamers. We do also have Forsaken and some Spears. Marauder Spears are a little bit tough to kill for my mobility. They do, of course, have those shields and are relatively hardy folk with their melee defense, which I think is in the 30s, yeah, 37. So we'll have to send something good like Gore Herds down there or surround them with something and really get that going. Razorgores rampaging, and I believe they still just have normal rampage. Yeah, they don't have like the fancy primal instincts that the lizards have, but Sons of Goros going to be coming around the back. We do see the double pinks coming in, one of which is actually summoned, so that's going to be disappearing soon. The other pink here, of course, is a little bit vulnerable to my Sons of Goros, who are going to be getting a nice charge. So for the Bray Herd, baby, they get in there, they break the shields, magic damage, very, very good here. But, you know, Sons of Goros aren't the tankiest lads, so any sort of kind of pushback that Tzeentch can give via these Forsaken is going to be very disruptive to them. So I do have one Wargore. I think one of them might have actually died. Tzeentch going to be trying to use its big army ability there, but thankfully I was paying attention for once in my life, and I was able to dodge that. So the Ungor Raiders going to be circumventing that. And the Cygors are just dropping boulders, trying to kill Weird Spawn. They're doing okay damage, but overall I think moving the Cygors in was a mistake. In retrospect, what I should have done is just unsummon the Cygor once it ran out of ammo and get a partial refund, and then summon in some more aggressive units, or potentially even resummon the Cygor, but I don't think at that point you want to do that. But they have earned a lot of chevrons. I mean, my opponent came in with 3 or 4 Tzeentch halberds in the middle, and they all got wrecked by those Cygors, right? So there's a lot going well. We do get some Forsaken maneuvering over to the middle, but they get charged by the Centaurs, and the Centaurs do get them in the back. 69 models there for a second, that's what she said. And Ungor Herds going to be maneuvering onto the Marauders. Now, as far as this fight goes, I think the Spears will probably win it. Their stats are better, they have more HP, they have shields, but it does allow me the opportunity to kind of hold them in place and hammer them. We'll have to see how that goes. And now the Centaur is going to be maneuvering away and looking to recharge these Spears and really entrap them there. So up on the high ground, we do have the objective with some stealth units. I think stealth, no, those are Gorherds with shields, so that'll take a lot to remove. The middle's looking pretty good for us, although my opponent does a really good job of pushing back the Cygors. Cygors got really beat up by the pink fire shooting, and somehow the cultists were able to put some hurt on them, which is really interesting. Yeah, 285, don't know how they did that, but you know, we don't ask questions here. So Cygor is going to be pulling back. They've learned their lesson. They're going to get back to throwing their boulders. Meanwhile, the middle objective probably is going to be taken by the forces of Tzeentch. The points are very close, and at that point, I did have a value lead before the Cygors went in, but now my opponent was able to get a value equalizer. I think it was within like 500 to 1,000 now, so it became a very close game. And you can't really like just look at Tzeentch's value and look at it, you know, as it is, because the shields regenerate, which is basically like free healing across your entire roster. So you really do have to take that into account. Ungor's battling the Spears. They are shaken, and we're not quite able to break them up here. The Spears are getting some nice shanks into my units, and my Raiders, a little bit, I think, was bad positioning on my part. I was trying to shoot the Forsaken, but they were like right around the pillar. But now it's time, guys. Our Wargore, who died earlier, he's going to be coming in on the Chariot, man, and I'm telling you, these characters are just so damn good. He's just slapping up those Forsaken, immediately just doing massive damage to the Forsaken, probably enough to just bunker bust them, and then from there we can move on and take the objective, and I'm going to really need it for sure. Up on the high ground, looks like Tzeentch moving in with some Forsaken. I do have some tattered Tuskor chariots. I would say bring at least 1 Tuskor against Tzeentch. I think 2 is even prudent with their speed and their armor. They're good against, you know, Forsaken, good against blues and pinks. A very disruptive unit. Granted, Tzeentch does often bring a lot of spawn, but you have Ungor Raiders for that. The Beastmen, I feel like, have some decent tools against Tzeentch, but it goes both ways. Like, you saw how bad Tzeentch was able to just karate chop my lord in the beginning of the game, so 2 cap is for me here, but the Wargore able to come in and just absolutely annihilate those Forsaken, moving up the Raiders to try and shoot the Spears a little bit. The basic Ungors, you know, one thing you don't really take into account with Ungors is their numbers. They do have 160 models in their starting kind of posse here, so they were actually able to just outnumber the Spears too. Granted, I think they have the expendable trait, so their capture rate's going to be pretty bad, but with the double Wargore on the objective, we might be able to wrestle this one. And even if we don't, it's bringing the big chicken over here, which potentially will give us an opportunity to push back in the middle. Granted, the high ground is also in danger, right? So my opponent really pressuring me on all 3 fronts. We do see the Forsaken moving in. Forsaken will really just cut through my Gorherds. Their armor is what makes the difference, really. And I believe these guys have any physical resist. I don't think so. Yeah, they just got the Primal Fury. It's not like the Norskin one that gives them a little bit of physical resist. And the 2 Cygors, thought about moving down there, but we do see the old Pinks. The Pinks were able to move up. But they're a little bit overextended as well. Could potentially summon some things to dive down on those Pinks, like some shielded Gorherds or some Ungors, and I think that would go well for us. Now, the big chicken was forced to retreat. Between the archers and the Wargore chariots, it was a little bit too much. And now Tzeentch is kind of in an awkward position where they do have these Marauders and these Chaos Warrior halberds kind of sitting here, and it looks like they're going to be making their way back to the middle. But again, I can win on a 2 cap at this point, so that's the thing. You need to kind of force your opponent to play your game, right? And here are the Forsaken moving on to the point, but they're just going to get wrecked pretty bad. I mean, with the chariot characters and the Razorgore herds, which are of course an amazing armor-piercing piece, the Protoss shields will dissipate here in a second. And once the shields are gone, these guys are going to get buttered up pretty bad. And, you know, I figure a better place for the Cygors to have a big terror-causing monster over here, just dropping those fat rocks for Morkur. I don't know, what do the Beastmen worship? Probably just some Chaos God, right? Like, who are their deities? I suppose Morkur is probably, like, one of the closest things. He's like some evil Beastman demigod thing, right? So, Cygor here. Value accrued 1,400. It's almost paid for itself. They only cost a little bit more than that if memory serves. And just using my Centaurs to kind of intercept the infantry, not that they'll beat halberds, but it's just trying to keep them from getting to the middle, trying to force my opponent's attention to kind of chill here while some Gorherds go to intercept. And the middle's looking very vulnerable to the Gorherds, right? There's no mass here. Even halberds like will do okay, but the Wargores on the chariots here are just going to be able to just absolutely cause massive havoc here. And over the course of a longer battle, which this is, you know, it's going to be enough that I can then pull in later with other things as the Wargors do get in there. And you can see big damage coming in. The big atomic mace slaps, very good stuff. Massive casualties coming down. Very, very happy with that middle engagement. Now on this side, the chicken has arrived. Good thing I did send the Cygor over there because the chicken's pretty beat up. His Protoss shield is now only 400 HP. Of course, the shields do scale with the existing health, but what really high level players often do in land battles and things like that is as soon as the shields are gone, they just don't come back in until it's regenerated, and they do that basically with their whole army, like mass horsemen and that really kind of toxic style of play, in my opinion. But the fight is on. We hold the objective. We got the 2 cap. The pressure is now on, and the 2 chariot characters able to just annihilate these infantry, right? And just to kind of put the 3-pronged pressure, since we did have a decent value lead, and a lot of the value here of the forces of Tzeentch was tied up in the Exalted Lord of Change, is now we're going to be moving in with our troops into the middle, starting to press with Ungors, and also bringing our Ungors from the other objective to play, and just leaving some cheap raiders here. If any blue or pink comes down here, or any sort of a cheap marauder infantry, we should be able to harass them enough and kind of harry them, and to the point where we can probably get the objective. But man, oh man, these things are just so MVP. I mean, I don't know about the value. At least 1,000 on that one, and the other one has gotten 1,300. One of them did get resummoned, and they do cost 900, so it's not like all sunshine and rainbows in that regard, but overall it feels pretty good. So Ungors are on their way in. With Ungors buffering off the halberds, the Wargors are just going to be able to cackle all the way to the bank. In the meantime, Tzeentchian reinforcements being intercepted by Centaurs, and the Sons of Goros also getting a nice beating on 2 relatively ideal targets, right? Their magic damage will surpass the physical resist of the Greater Demon, and Forsaken, of course, are armored, and the armor-piercing great weapons of the Sons of Goros are very good here. And the second Cygor has arrived. Here he comes, close quarters boulder, and he kills a couple of his fellow Beastmen. That's great. This is chaos in a nutshell. Just always, sabotaging one another, causing drama, causing problems. But here, one Wargor getting very beat up somehow. I don't really know how that happened. Must have had some magic from across the map, maybe like an overcasted blue fire. Or was it actually just the halberds here? I don't know, but yeah, getting a little bit kind of tattered, but pinks here do get broken off. We do now have the capture weight. We got some halberds coming up, but I should be able to kind of continue sending more units as the Blackhorn's Ravagers are going to make their way down here. We do have a decent point lead as well. You can see the Chaos Warriors with halberds not quite able to get that point. The sneaky hiding raiders able to do very well. And the 2 Cygors are definitely a very tough presence to remove. I mean, the halberds can get them, but what's funny is the Cygors have 3 capture weight apiece, halberds have 5, so if it was just like those, I could just run in circles with my faster speed and avoid them and hold the cap. I mean, it's a little bit micro-intensive and you can get cut off, but for the most part, it works pretty well. So raiders are pulling back, trying to screen out these halberds, and the Sons of Goros, or basic Centaurs, going to be running into the chicken here, and we get a nice charge and kind of break through his shield. Not a ton of damage, but all it's going to take is a couple hits, and this guy's going to be in danger. We do see the Screamers coming in from Tzeentch, which are a very good tool here. I'm surprised we didn't see more of them this game, although they kind of do just get swarmed a little bit by the Beastmen. And the middle objective is going to be going to our Wargor Goon Squad. So the Wargor is able to cackle all the way to the bank here, the point bank, as we do get the triple cap. And it's looking like Tzeentch isn't going to have the time, right? The side objective is ours, the middle objective is ours, and that is going to be game blouses. So GG, well played to my opponent. He's a very strong player, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that one as well. We did get the value from the Cygors, but yeah, we played that whole game basically without magic. Now, I think if I optimize this build a little bit, I still think, man, I want probably Malagor, to be honest, because he can get away from things a little bit better and juke the shots maybe. Because I love the double Wargor combo and the double Cygor combo against this Tzeentch style, I think is good. And if Tzeentch spams cheesy Marauder Horsemen, you could also just shoot them with raiders and throw boulders at them too and just kill them through their shields. So I think that is probably pretty good. I don't know, I like the build. I don't know how it would work on a bigger map, like a Black Ark or something, but I feel like it would only be better for you, right? Because you can close the distance quickly, and you do, of course, have these big boys here. Here's my reinforcements for anybody looking, and here are the reinforcements for the Tzeentchian army. Very classic Tzeentch stuff, right? Just heavy. And if I tried to fight them head up, like an infantry rush with Vestigors, you 100% lose. You're going to get crumped. And even his halberds still got decent value, all things considered. A couple of them did at least. So GG, well played. See you guys on the other side. Take care of yourselves, and the Beastmen are back, baby.